Video games are iterative. With each new entry into a series or franchise comes the assumption of an improved or expanded result. With so many big follow-ups on the horizon, we decided to sit down and pick out our favorite sequels in video games. That means these games must have either the number 2 in the title or be the second game in the series. I'm Darren Garcia, and this is our top 5 video game sequels. Portal 2 is a perfect example of what we want out of a sequel. It set out to turn the beloved but bite-sized puzzle game Portal into a committed, fully fledged package. The campaign is longer, the puzzles are harder, and the jokes are funnier than ever. New mechanics like color gels add another layer to the standard test chambers, forcing the player to take what they've learned and apply it in a different setting. Familiar characters like GLaDOS return, but share the spotlight with a new cast, namely an energetic AI named Wheatley. Now, all of that would have been plenty, but Valve even went the extra distance to include a separate co-op campaign that is arguably even tougher than the main game itself. Without a doubt, Portal 2 is everything a video game sequel should be, and more. Red Dead Redemption might be the only game on our list without a 2 in the title, but we don't care. In fact, most people don't even know that it's a sequel. This gunslinging open-world western by Rockstar shares the Red Dead series with its often-forgotten brother, Red Dead Revolver, making it a real follow-up. This really just shows how successful Red Dead Redemption is as a sequel. Rockstar took one of their games that didn't make many waves and committed themselves to crafting one of the most beloved open-world games in the genre, and arguably the best western game to date. It borrows a lot of what works from Grand Theft Auto and applies it to a new and untapped setting. We believe that Red Dead Redemption is capable of standing on its own merits, which is why it makes our list for simply being a fantastic game that also happens to be a sequel. Few franchises have had such a massive mainstream impact on the last console generation as Mass Effect, and the game that really spearheaded that was Mass Effect 2. The original Mass Effect had a solid fan base, but it also had its quirks. The game was relatively clunky and mechanically questionable, but had solid ideas and characters. The world BioWare had created was one worth exploring. So when they took what they learned from the first game and applied it to Mass Effect 2, audiences were delighted with the results. Gameplay was revamped with a less focus on RPG mechanics and a greater emphasis on combat and action. Characters were fleshed out and given more importance. Even player choices felt more significant and allowed for the final mission to look very different based on specific decisions. Mass Effect 2 really lit the gaming world on fire and stands out to us as undeniably great second act. Kingdom Hearts 2 is an action RPG masterpiece. The original Kingdom Hearts was a huge hit and quickly became one of the PS2's best-selling games. So when Square Enix followed it up with a title that not only met but surpassed expectations, the results were legendary. Kingdom Hearts 2 takes the core of the first game and refines it to a level of near perfection. Mechanics like magic were thrown out and redesigned. New systems like drive forms were added, and everything else that was left out was fleshed out to the 100th degree. Kingdom Hearts 2 provided a much wider array of abilities that allowed for more gameplay options and strategies, as well as a fluid, optionally unlockable movement set. Combat became more arena-focused, and a greater emphasis was placed on boss battles, which tested the player on everything they had learned throughout the course of the game. Square Enix outdid themselves with Kingdom Hearts 2, and we're still eagerly waiting Kingdom Hearts 3 more than a decade later. In the world of video game sequels, there are none as famous as Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 1 was a novel game for its time, but it didn't break any ground. Almost out of nowhere, Ubisoft hits it out of the park with Assassin's Creed 2 just 2 years later. The game tells the tale of Ezio Auditore, one of the most iconic Western protagonists of all time, on a journey to redeem the murder of his father and brothers in the Renaissance-era Italy. The legacy of this game is indisputable. It has gone down in history as one of the most important games of the 7th generation and sparked a juggernaut franchise matched only by Call of Duty. This game pretty much made Ubisoft into the company they are today, and the open-world design choices of Assassin's Creed 2 can still be felt in open-world games today. You know how every Ubisoft game has a tower in it? Assassin's Creed 2 popularized it. In terms of what it has done for its series and the impact it has made on the medium as a whole, there is no more important video game sequel than Assassin's Creed 2.